since most of the chess players are young kids who are still very much needed of support from their parents. So, but we have seen both the sides where parents are supportive at the right level, but they're also overly supportive where they're putting extra pressure on the coach as well as the player.
What I can see is like the parents' perspective keeps on changing, and they have their own goals and they want their kids to pursue that. Right. A kind of pressure is directly goes to the kid.
Now the parents at a very beginning stages itself, they have very high ambitions because there are other children who are doing very well at the international level at a very young age, and they believe their child is capable of doing the same.
No, more than the technology, in Caissa School of Chess, we have a concept called chess buddies, where every student is assigned a buddy who he can reach out to any time, and the parent as well. We already have a few hundred students, and we have corresponding buddies as well, and not the same number, required amount of buddies, and we are trying to use the buddy as like a tool for open communication, like to keep it as open as possible.
Hi, thank you for joining. Today, I think we have a elite panel of coaches whose contributions are not only helping the Indian chess world, but are making waves throughout the international chess ecosystem. Just a quick introduction. With me on my left, I have RB Ramesh, Grandmaster RB Ramesh, who runs the Chess Gurukul Pro Chess Training, and is also, I think, one of the most famous students is Pragnananda, who has been doing very well on the international scene. Then we have Grandmaster Vishnu Prasanna, who is also the Chief Chess Officer at CircleChess and one of the childhood coaches for Gukesh, and also a mentor whom he looks forward to every time. So your contributions to Gukesh are very visible right now, with him being the world champion, always attributing his success, definitely a part of his success, to your coaching. And Akash, you are one of the persons whom with the younger generation started, I would say, because you are still the youngest senior national champion of India. So, and I know that you have a lot of students who are playing very well in different tournaments across the world. So thank you everybody for joining. I'll just start with our first question. I was listening to this podcast by Caruana, and he was mentioning that Indian chess is lucky to have this panel of coaches who transitioned very early on from playing to coaching, deciding that they want to use their career for benefiting the next generation of kids than playing yourself. And I think we are definitely seeing the rewards. What is happening? What do you think is how, in your personal opinion, how is it panning out? Ramesh sir, maybe you can.
Yes. So I wouldn't attribute the boom that we are seeing and the results that we are producing at the international level to any one single factor. It's a collective contribution from across the fields, like the parents, even many schools, the players themselves who put in a lot of their heart into their training. So it's a collective effort, I would say. And to some extent, it is true that many players of our generation, we retired early and pursued chess coaching as a career, and it has paid some dividends. So happy to have played a small role in that.
Vishnu sir, maybe you can add on to that, but also tell what made you switch to coaching early on.
I just started it to continue to support myself playing, actually. Okay. So that was how I started. But clearly I had a good knack for it. What helped me actually was exposure to certain amount of elite chess early on, and also I come from a generation who all worked very hard but could not break certain barriers despite working hard. Okay. And that kind of decided my coaching pattern, actually. I did not want to do the traditional way, seeing, and I understood that only hard work may not be enough and something else was required. And probably I had an opportunity to visit Tata Steel AA. I had some opportunity to discuss with top players, and I tried to use that in my coaching approaches mainly.
So you're saying you think you had a unique coaching approach and you wanted to try that out and help players.
I mean, I was discovering it on the way. I did not like plan out an approach or something, but definitely I did not want to do it the classical way. That much I was sure when I started out training. Yeah.
So Akash, I think Ramesh sir was now mentioning that it is not just coaches but also collective effort of the players and the parents. So since most of the chess players are young kids who are still very much needed of support from their parents. So, but we have seen both the sides where parents are supportive at the right level, but they're also overly supportive where they're putting extra pressure on the coach as well as the player. So what do you think of that, where the parents are anxious, ambitious? How do you handle that, and what is the right way to for a coach to manage it?
Yeah, definitely. So this has been a big issue. Maybe my experience with coaching compared to Ramesh sir and Vishnu was like less. But what I can see is like the parents' perspective keeps on changing, and they have their own goals, and they want their kids to pursue that.
Right.
A kind of pressure is directly goes to the kid, and that is shown in the board.
Right.
The mistake which is happening is not just a thought process, but it also involves deep layers. When you look at it, it comes with different kinds of pressure that the kid is handling.
So how do you isolate that? How do you manage? What do you tell the parents, or what do you want to tell the parents who are watching this?
They have to be objective with things. So if they don't know chess, it's better not to comment really about the game and just to leave it to the coaches who is handling the expert part. Else, I think that is the main thing I would definitely say on this regard.
Also, probably like this is an issue from my experience. I've seen over generations, the early generations, the parents were not as imposing,
Right.
and they did not have such a high expectation at a very early stage of the career, because they were kind of trying to monitor the progress of the child and then set up the goals. But now the parents at a very beginning stages itself, they have very high ambitions, because there are other children who are doing very well at the international level at a very young age, and they believe their child is capable of doing the same. And it's very important to get across the message to the parents that there are some right things to do and things to avoid, and this message needs to go across, and probably that's where we have to bring in the technology as well. And right now it's mostly the direct communication that's happening between the trainer and the parent, and it's not always possible that coaches can reach out to all the parents of the students and convince them about the right approaches, best practices. So maybe you can share how the technology we are trying to do in Chess Circle to bridge this barrier.
No, more than the technology, in Caissa School of Chess, we have a concept called Chess Buddies, where every student is assigned a buddy who he can reach out to any time, and the parent as well, to reach out at any time to clarify anything, right? So if you have a certain doubt on a topic that was taught, or if you want to advise on what tournament to play next, and all these things that non-sport parent who's not familiar with the sport comes in. So that's why we've introduced Chess Buddy as a concept where the parent student have easy access to the program, and the buddies have been instructed in a certain way to teach what is required for each level.
But hearing from this, won't this be an issue, like to provide an individualized buddy to every student? What if the number of students grows exponentially? How are we going to deal with this?
We are hiring more and more buddies as the student strength increases. We already have a few hundred students, and we have corresponding buddies as well, and not the same number, required amount of buddies. And we are trying to use the buddy as like a tool for open communication, like to keep it as open as possible.
No, so in fact, I think I was coming to that point where Ramesh sir rightly pointed out now, and in our lunch also you were mentioning that chess is booming right now with so many achievements in India, and everybody wants to learn chess. But you told there's the problem is now that there are fewer coaches than the kids who are wanting to learn chess. So like we have seen technology which has bridged the scalability issues in a lot of other industries. So what do you think, like how the technology can help fix the scalability issue in chess?
Yeah, so especially with performances like the Indian team won both the men and the women gold, and recently we have Gukesh becoming the youngest world champion, and all this has given a huge boost to the audience, not just audience who are following the game, but also young children who want to take up the game and emulate the performances of these great players. So we are having a huge influx of young children who are trying to take up the game, and also among the adults I see like there is a lot of interest. Many adults are trying to learn chess and get better. Those who already know the game, they want to get better. So there's a huge demand to learn game from good trainers, and unfortunately there are not enough trainers to meet the demand. So I think technology has a very important, significant role in bridging this gap, and I think with also this is coinciding with the transformation that is happening in the technology field itself. Like we have AI becoming more acceptable and becoming the norm about the future development. So like maybe you are in a better position to tell how we are trying to use AI to.
Yeah, so a lot of times what children ask me is to analyze their game and tell me what I'm doing wrong and so on. So with Caissa, we are able to kind of automate that and provide an accurate depiction of what their game looks like, what needs to be worked on, and what are the exact moments where they're making errors in the game. Try to encourage them to go back to the games. And this is a huge problem that we solve. And this is also a very powerful weapon and speeds up the process for the coach as well. Like I said already, the chess buddy is also empowered over his level with this. So he has the access to the account of the student. He already has a lot of information which he does not have to do manually, and he can assist the student with that as well. And definitely Caissa version 1, I would say that we have built right now is already quite powerful in solving a lot of problems like game analysis, visualization, basic visualization which many players struggle with, and finding exactly what part of the game you need to work on, middle game, calculation, and so on.
So once we identify the issues, like let's say if a student has some issues in a particular area of the game, how can we deal with that?
I think this is one important point where the chess buddies will be playing a crucial role over there. The thing is like what students right now, like not even students, what the parents expect is like they need a titled coach. You need a GM to take for a beginner. And the expectation that they are having is basically a GM can dissect the game really well and point out what are the things that the kid is going wrong. And with Caissa, we are solving that problem. So we are able to dissect what is going on and what are the areas with his strength and also his weakness. And we have trained the chess buddies in a way that he can directly point out the mistakes from the Caissa and give him the appropriate material for him.
So basically what Caissa does is once it identifies by going through the games of the player, it identifies the areas of concern where they have to get better, and then it also feeds them positions.
Yes.
It gives them positions which they have to work upon, solve, and when they do that, they get better in those areas.
Exactly. So the where position, for example, if a kid makes a mistake, and that mistake, that particular position will be given as a homework or in the position trainer format. So the kid has an opportunity to go over the mistakes that he has done, and he can also solve that one. And now he knows what are the mistakes that he has gone through, and it is not just for one game. you're going to like import all your online games to it, and also if you want you can feed the classical games, which means entire thing is now under your control and you don't have to do it manually, which we have been doing.
Yeah. So now when we bring in all the, let's say, the blitz, bullet games along with the classical games, and there will be many mistakes that's happening in the blitz and bullet games because they are shorter time control, which doesn't necessarily reflect the areas of concern of the player. Because of the time shortage and you're taking less time, you can make some very silly mistakes, but that doesn't point out the underlying issue. But in a standard time control, we can actually identify a pattern of areas which are concerned. So how do we resolve this issue? So we can ask the Caissa to analyze only the standard games.
Yeah, we can ask them to do that, ask her to do that. It depends on the goal of the player. I would say that one thing the previous generation also did that, you know, I did not do, or the generation before that did not do, is play a lot of blitz. I don't want to say bullet, but yeah, they played a lot of blitz games. They made a lot of decisions, and I think that was also a contributor, just by making a lot of decisions and improving over those decisions, assessing those decisions, improving those decisions. That definitely played a role in the rapid improvement of the players that we see. I think before I would have to wait a month to play 9 games and learn from them and so on, but you can play let's say 100 games in a week now and also learn from them. So you get there are those benefits to blitz. So we do analyze blitz, but it's up to the student. If he only wants to import the classical game, he can also do that.
So as I understand that, then with the structure where we have a mixture of the coaches, the buddies, and the software, we are trying to improve the efficiency of the coaches, give human feedback wherever possible, but at the same time give personalized training to the players. So I think that fits very well into it. I think just moving on to the next question, right? As again, coming back to that, most of them are kids. So there are a lot of problems which you have to solve specifically for them. So of course, kids are very much smarter. They pick up things very fast, but at the same time, they tend to think lesser and act faster, and that discipline issue bites them back again and again. So one thing which I often hear is that or let's say that is also something I do, that I just keep playing games one after the other. I'm like, okay, I lost, what next? I'll play another. But how important is reviewing your game right after? And let's say if you play 10 games, you make sure that you have to review those 10 games. What are your opinions on that?
No, definitely. I mean, till a level where you're able to identify your mistakes right after you play a game, right? So at a certain level, you'll know immediately after the game that okay, this is what I did wrong. But until you reach that level, it's very, very crucial, I think, to go back to your games and try to see where you went wrong and what is the pattern there. There will definitely be a pattern, and it's one of the most simplest ways to improve, I think, right? So go back to, instead of studying a bunch of material or something, you look at your own games, and I mean that's how I see it.
So what do you prefer? So let's say just self-analysis where I played a game and then I'm just trying to find my mistakes, or do you prefer a tool where the tool points out the mistakes which you would have never caught otherwise?
Totally, I think a tool is really required, because let's say for an example, let's take the blitz. If I'm playing a blitz, I would play like 10, 15, 20, it keeps on going, right? And if I want to do it everything manually, it's going to take me a lot of time and I will lose interest at some point.
Yeah.
So I need something which is simplifying this process, even though it's going to be the same over and over. Like if there is an opening mistake, it's going to tell me. If there is something I'm not good in endgame, I'm not good in rook endgames, it is going to point it out. And over the time, like if after playing like 1,000 games, it's going to simply tell the percentage of which is good and which is bad, which is going to help me in an average perspective, and I can get a picture of what I'm doing actually in chess. So which is very hard if I do it manually. I can have a note of it, but having it as a tool is definitely a better choice for every player.
Also, like when we try to look at the games ourselves or with our trainer. Sometimes maybe we are not competent enough to do the right diagnosis. Our biases and prejudices can have an
absolutely.
impact as well. So it may not be very objective, a human perspective. But with experienced trainers, it's more likely to be closer to the truth. But a technology will be like unbiased and very objective. So that way, it will just put things on the table, and we have to learn to deal with it.
Yes.
That's also like it's very useful, I believe.
Yeah, so I think we collectively do agree that reviewing a game and using something at your disposal like our Caissa AI tool is definitely useful. So coming to my next question, just setting the context, what do you need to learn any thing, right? So you need the right instructions, you need a coach, you need practice, and you need constant learning. So let's say we have covered the practice part, we have covered the coach part, group simultaneous learning. The classes, what is your opinion about, there's a very big debate that one-on-one classes or group classes, and of course both have their own pros and cons. But when we look at the masses, where majority of the players are below 2000 FIDE rated, some are looking to start their chess journey, some are looking to get rated. What do you think is the right approach? Does a collective learning help?
Personally, I feel group learning is very effective when the children are young, because the children are very good at observation. They are observing what is happening around them. So if we have some good players in the group, and I have seen many times this happen, like in a group environment, you will have players of different strengths, because they are all individuals with their own personality traits, strengths and weaknesses. So they not only learn from the trainer, but mostly from the other players as well.
Exactly.
So the children who are doing well, they will have better concentration. When the teacher is teaching, they will focus better.
So this is like a school environment.
Yes, and they will, how they absorb information, how they process it, and so on. So I've seen many times like children who are struggling to concentrate, or when they see like the topic that is being taught, they are not very fond of, but they see like the stronger players, even those topics they are trying to learn by focusing well. So they're not only learning the chess part, but also how to focus, how to learn, process information, and so on. So I am personally like very much in favor of group training.
Vishnu sir, anything you would like to add to this?
No, I mean, he gave a very good lot of good points actually. So I would just agree with him that early stage group learning makes a lot more sense. Just as an environment, it's more ideal, I think. And yeah, he gave a lot of interesting points, I think. So
Just my last question over here. So I think psychology training, ironically, has not been the biggest focus in chess, even though chess is probably the most toughest mental sport. And when Gukesh hired Paddy Upton for his mental performance as a mental performance coach for World Championship, that was one of the first cases in a big chess tournament. So what do you think, how important is psychology, and should players today, even from young age, should they start focusing on psychology? Does it help them not just in the chess skills but also in other aspects of the life?
So I will take this question first, but I'm also very keen to listen from Vishnu and Akash on this. The way I see it's like the chess moves, they are not just moves, they are outcome or reflection of a thought process that is happening in our head. So there is a thought process that is happening, and the moves we play is just a outcome of the thought process. And in this thought process, many factors are involved. One, our chess understanding, our chess skills, our bank of knowledge we have accumulated, the understanding and knowledge of principles, how effectively we are able to recollect the right principles at the right moment, all these skills, and also the emotions, and also our own, the way I look at myself, my self-confidence, my self-belief, my self-worth, all this. So if I have a good view about myself, then I'll be more confident in taking decisions. Even if they are not right, I would still believe in my decision-making skills. But if I have more doubts about myself, it can impact the quality of my analysis, even my quality of my focus can be influenced by this. So I believe psychology is extremely important, but as you rightly said, it has been largely ignored. So I've seen in most of my interactions with especially players from the West, they simply see like some players are more talented than the others. So if someone is doing well, it's simply because they are either hardworking or talented or both, or lucky, something like this. So they don't attribute like we can actually evolve, like we can overcome our shortcomings and get better. So this aspect is not given the due importance. So I think this will be one of the major barriers technology has to overcome. How we also inculcate psychological training into chess.
Akash, any thoughts on this?
Definitely. I think psychology is one of the most like not, taken seriously in the chess world. The students I talk with them, right? Like when I talk with them, the first thing what I observe is how are they thinking? Are they generally confident, first of all? That question. And in most cases, as a player, they don't think about it. They don't know like if I'm confident or not. They're just okay. For them the chess aspect as like the higher priority, and the other aspect is not so much. But then when you ask them a lot of questions, it always comes to this point like they have some fear of certain things. I fear playing against high-rated player. I fear against low-rated player. I think this has been recently a lot of kids are facing this. You get pressurized when you are playing the top board. If it is a final round, I lose the game. All these are psychological things. And I can also observe that a person who has trained really well performs well under pressure. When he is under pressure, he is able to play much better than his normal training games.
How do you prepare? Like, do you suggest them meditation? Do you suggest them exercises or classes?
So psychology is obviously the most crucial part of any sport. And to me, psychology is all about self-awareness actually. Okay. Right? Who are you and who am I asking these questions and trying to find the answers. The player should aim to develop self-awareness right from early, either through coach or like we can do a bit with technology and through our own assessment of what we do. We can point out certain things, and we do some psychology assessment as also from the games, especially the online games. To me, it is very crucial, but it's all about self-awareness. You should be aware of what your own thoughts are, whether they are helping you, they are in your favor, or we are constantly against ourselves actually. So if we are more self-aware, I think those own thoughts could improve. And we don't really want to fight against ourselves, but we do it mainly because of a lack of self-awareness, I think. And if you are more self-aware, then you're psychologically in better shape, I think.
Yeah, so I think let's just have our final thoughts. As all of us who are associated with CircleChess, you are the coaches who are guiding CircleChess to help the players improve their chess. What are your thoughts on what does CircleChess mean to you, and how do you see CircleChess helping the chess ecosystem? So we can have it one by one. Akash, maybe you can start.
Yeah. So from my perspective, it is a tool, a platform which helps millions of chess players to improve in chess. So if we are in the right track, and this is what I can see in the future happening.
Okay, thank you. Vishnu sir?
Yeah, CircleChess, we are trying to build the world's largest chess community. And I think CircleChess has a huge role to play overall as chess keeps growing at a rapid pace and these kids keep winning everything. We have to meet the demands, and I think CircleChess is very well equipped to solve even the upcoming problems of the chess ecosystem. That's how I see it. I mean, the company is going to keep in pace with the demands and the new things that are going to come up in chess because of all the successes that we had.
Yeah, so from my perspective, it's like about creating an ecosystem. As Vishnu mentioned, one, bridging the barrier between the demands which are existent now and also that may exist in the future, that may come up in the future. So how do we effectively find solutions for this? and also to create a holistic environment for learning the game where there are no gaps in the foundational stages itself. So to bridge all the gaps as and when they arise and they help in the overall development of the player.
So yeah, thank you for joining us.